Hello everyone and welcome to a video about what's new in Minecraft 1.16.2. This is a minor update but a significant one as it introduces a new mob. It opens up the game to the customization of biomes, worlds and dimensions through data packs, and there's lots of other significant changes inside as well. Now, since I cover each of the snapshots that come out, this video is actually going to focus on the last couple that I missed. That's pre-release 2, 3 and the release candidate. However, this video will provide you with a brief overview of all the key features in 1.16.2. If you want to get into the details though, you can check the Minecraft updates playlist linked in the description box below and check out the last few videos for every little detail about this update. And just before we get into the recap, a little bit of Minecraft news. One of the Mojang devs, Lady Agnes, says, "I've seen many questions on if there will be a Minecraft live event this year. I'm super happy to say there will indeed be a broadcast and we will for sure show some exciting new things then. More info will come in the next week, so stay tuned for that." And so what does that mean for us? Well, the tradition usually is to show the latest Minecraft update that's planned on one of those broadcasts, so in the near future we might find out what 1.17 is going to be about. So 1.16.2 has seen the introduction of a new mob. This is the Piglin Brute. It is a stronger version of the Piglin, and it spawns inside of the Bastion Remnants. Now it spawns with the creation of this structure, meaning that once you kill them all, they're not going to respawn here. Inside of the Remnants, you can expect to find between 5 to around 20 of these Piglin Brutes, so don't be alarmed if you see a large number of them. They are of course very strong, yielding the golden axe. They attack for a lot of damage. They have 25 hearts of health, which is 2.5 times what the player has. There is also a 15% chance that the golden axe will drop on Piglin death, and you can see this guy has come along and picked it up. And that reminds me of something rather important. The Piglin Brutes are not distracted by gold items. This includes the player wearing gold items as well. If I switch into survival mode, you can see that the Piglins will leave me alone, but the Piglin Brutes are going to come after me. So when heading out to explore these Bastion Remnants, you are going to need to be geared up and have your wits about you. And the loot that generates inside of these Bastion Remnants has been tweaked and changed as well. You can now get a golden axe, a golden hoe, a diamond pickaxe, an iron sword, blocks of iron, a cooked pork chop, both types of golden apple, and golden carrots. Changes have also been made to the Piglin bartering system, where you throw them some gold and they throw you back some random items. While magma cream and glowstone is no longer available from the system, but you will be able to get water bottles, blackstone, and spectral arrows. And given that we've just learned we can get water bottles in the Nether, it's a good time to let you know you can also craft a brewing stand with blackstone. And there are more changes, including the Totem of Undying, which now gives you fire resistance when activated. Let's close that. There you go, some additional fire resistance. Lanterns can now be waterlogged, which basically means you can place them underwater, like this. The chain block can now be placed sideways, and you can also walk up them like you can a slab to a regular block. This one won't sound like a big deal, but scratch your head for a moment here. You can move backwards down a block holding shift and not fall off it in its entirety. And normally, I would have just fallen off the first snow layer here down to the ground, and that's actually kind of a big deal. Projectiles like ender pearls, snowballs, eggs, and shulker bullets, for example, can now actually be sent through a block that doesn't have a collision block. So you won't collide with the grass, but what would have normally happened is the ender pearl would have hit this block. It now goes straight through it. The same can also be said of cobwebs, which might be a little bit of an oversight, as you'd expect them to get caught in the cobweb. You can also send these projectiles through tripwires or string. That includes string when it's just attached to an observer block, and you can also send them through open fence gates. And these quality of life changes for projectiles have been applied to water streams, both the ones that go up and down. So if we throw an ender pearl into that, you can see it actually gets caught in the water stream. We now have control over the FOV, the field of view, when it is affected by potion effects. So you can see it just got bigger. And with this slider in accessibility settings, we can stop that from happening. So let's put it down to 0. And this time when I drink the potion, you can see that it doesn't change. When creating a new world, you can add data packs in, and these data packs will now support icons. So I can drag and drop them in like this, and you can see that the data packs have icons now. And if you're a fan of the Thorns enchantment, there's good news. There was actually a bug causing the durability damage to double when the Thorns enchantment was applied. So when you got attacked, you were taking twice as much durability than you should have been. And last of all, Endermen are not able to place blocks down on bedrock. That's because they can teleport onto the bedrock ceiling of the Nether and then place down some of the blocks that they picked up here, and then mobs are able to spawn on top of them. And so now we're going to go through the finer details of pre-release 2, 3 and the release candidate, but first of all, a couple of things that I missed from pre-release 1. So first of all, support has been added for chat and text that appears inside of the game, and this is for emojis, and I'm only aware of 9 of them that have been added so far. As you can see, we've got the dagger emoji, the bow and arrow, the axe, the trident, a fishing rod, a potion, a splash potion, a shield, and a star. And here are all of those together zoomed in. So these can be added to items and put in the chat of the game. This also includes support for fractional characters in chat. There are some of them that I've managed to grab. They don't look particularly great, but you know, you can make out what they are. It is now possible to find this combination of mob naturally generating in the world. So it's a zombified piglin with a warped fungus on a stick riding a strider. This is like an in-game tutorial to give the player some idea of how to control the strider. So now on to pre-release 2. And the very first change is related to something rather unpopular in pre-release 1, the introduction of shears for gathering up the different types of roots, like this. Well, you can use your fist again to pick up the roots and to pick up fungus. However, you will require shears to get the sprouts. So these ones right here cannot be got with just your fist. Dyes inside of the creative menu have been reordered, and they've actually been ordered to match the way in which wall appears. So notice the color scheme here. Now when you look up dyes, they are going to follow the same scheme. And it used to be that ink sacs, cocoa beans, lapis and bone meal were all sort of intermingled among these items. You can see they've now been separated. So I've just teleported myself to 880 in the overworld, and that is important because there is a change that was added in this update cycle, and I'm not sure exactly when because I missed it. And it relates to the execute command when running teleports in other dimensions. So we're in the overworld, we're going to execute this in the Nether, and we're going to use the relative location, which would mean the same coordinates. However, we're going into the Nether. The game will now actually divide those coordinates by 8, similar to how Nether portals work. So when we go into here and I press F3, you can see we're actually at 110, which is obviously the numbers we're at in the overworld divided by 8. And it works both ways. So if we go back to the overworld, we should find ourselves at 880. That is a rather interesting change. There was a bug with the game rule, do entity drops false, that stopped items popping out of an item frame. Well, you can now pop them out, but I do notice this means the items then disappear entirely. And another one relating to game rules, send command feedback if set to true, and you're trying to use message or tell, they wouldn't actually send because those commands would be hidden, but now you can see them in chat. And going back to the item frames, it was actually possible for Endermen to place the block they're holding down on top of item frames, causing them to then pop off and the items in them to pop off as well. So they can't do this now. Endermen can't put blocks down where the item frames are. If you had a charged creeper you were trying to explode and there were lots of different variants of zombie around it when it exploded, sometimes the game would actually get confused and then it wouldn't drop the zombie head item. So now it shouldn't get confused and you should always get your zombie heads. The new nausea effect that makes your screen turn green could be hidden by pressing F1, but now when you press F1 you retain the green tint. And sending minecarts through nether portals has been a little bit problematic. Right now that one isn't going through because I believe it's a freshly spawned minecart. But anyway, it's supposed to preserve the momentum of the minecart, remember what way it's facing, and pop it out on the same side in the nether. But there are issues with it forgetting its momentum, ending up inside of the obsidian blocks. Those things should now be fixed. And there's been a bug fix related to pistons at the very top of the world and the bottom. So we can place blocks here, but we can't place them any higher. And so obviously if we were to try and push that up, nothing would happen. However, if there were an air block here, the piston wouldn't be able to push. But now it can in this update. And the same thing goes for at the bottom of the world. It wouldn't be able to push this down because no blocks could be placed lower. However, now you can push into that space if there's an air block below the piston. And now moving on to pre-release 3, you can see there's not a lot of bug fixes, and a handful of these relate to pistons. And so simply put, the changes you saw a moment ago introduce some issues with performance, even the possibility of creating ghost blocks using pistons. These things were then patched out in pre-release 3. There is also a change to what happens to pending messages. When you press F3 and D, your chat will be cleared. That includes the pending messages. As you can see, another one hasn't popped up. There was also an issue with wolves going dark if they were in water and they didn't have access to direct sunlight. So now they would appear normal when inside of water. And now for bug fixes related to release candidate 1. If you were playing in the nether dimension on a server, there would actually be a sky here in the nether. Very, very peculiar. This same issue would also affect the end dimension, which has a sun in it at the moment. Yeah. Very peculiar bugs to appear. And here in the changelog for release candidate 1, you can see there's a bunch of other weird and technical stuff going on, but the main thing is that resource and data pack versions have been raised to level 6. And so as you saw earlier in the video when we were checking out data packs, it says that they're incompatible, but all you need to do is go inside of the data pack and change the number 5 to 6 and they will just work like normal. In fact, you don't even need to change them, they'll still work. And now for the release candidate 2 patch notes. There are 4 bugs, 2 of which relate to performance with pistons and block events, and the other 2 to the data pack screen that you saw just a moment ago. Incompatible resource packs don't display their name and display anymore, so now if they're incompatible, you can still see their names and description. And so my friends, we've covered pretty much everything in this video, so make sure you're subscribed if you want to catch news about the next update of Minecraft, which I am anticipating will not be too far away. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like. As always, thanks for supporting the channel, and I'll see you soon in another one. So ciao for now. Bye bye.